In my previous video, I covered GPU pass-through to a VM on a Red Hat Enterprise Linux-based machine. The pass-through steps are actually going to be the same regardless of the flavor of Linux, but where Ubuntu-based distributions differ is in the process for enabling IOMMU and VFIO. If you want to know more about those steps, go ahead and check out my previous video. If you're not familiar with IOMMU and VFIO and how they make pass-through possible, IOMMU allows the GPU to be accessed and used by a virtual machine, and the VFIO is the framework by which that happens. Don't worry, you don't need to know that to make any of this happen, but let's go ahead and get into it. This is B from Tay Talk Tech, and today I'm going to be showing you how to enable IOMMU and VFIO on an Ubuntu-based Linux system. So stick around. I have a favor to ask. If you like this type of video and want to see more content like it, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell button for notifications. Also, don't forget to give this video a like if you like it. Let me know what you liked, didn't like, or if you have any comments, questions, concerns, or emotional outbursts down in the comment section below. And lastly, make sure you stick around all the way to the end to get the most out of this video. Let's do this thing. All right, so what I need to go ahead and do, so we can go ahead and make this happen, is I need to shrink my face down. So you're able to see the, whoops. So you're able to see my terminal screen here. All right. Now, to begin this process, you're going to want to either be signed in as root or have sudo privileges on the system. Now, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and enable IOMMU. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So let me go ahead and bring up the command. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using our text editor to edit the grub configuration file. And we used Grubby in the Red Hat Enterprise Linux example. So here we're going to be doing things slightly differently. So let's go ahead and paste this in here. I'm going to be using Nano, but you can use any text editor that you wish. And we're going to come in here and we're going to come down to this line right here where you see grub underscore command line underscore Linux underscore default equals. And then mine by default had just the quotation marks with quiet splash. Now, one thing about this line that you'll want to remember is that if you have to make adjustments to this line, any additional things that you want to include is you want to go ahead and leave a space between them. So that's actually what we've done here. We're actually going to be adding two things to this file and this line. So let's go ahead and do that. The first thing that we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and add Intel underscore IOMMU equals on. If you are running an AMD-based system, change the Intel to AMD. And this is going to go ahead and enable the IOMMU. And then we're going to go ahead and also put in there kvm.ignore underscore msrs equals 1. All right, and then once that is done, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and save that and exit out of it. Now, we need to go ahead and run the command that's going to go ahead and actually make the changes official. So let's go ahead and do that. And like I said, this command is going to be a little bit different than what we did with Grubby on Red Hat Enterprise Linux. We're going to use grub mkconfig or tac mkconfig. Then we're going to go ahead and put the option tac o, and then we're going to go ahead and update the boot/grub/grub.cfg file. We're going to go ahead and hit enter. All right, perfect. And it went ahead and did there. So everything is set up. So now we're going to be able to go ahead and have the IOMMU updated here on the system. So let me go ahead and now do a reboot. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is through the magic of editing is we're going to go ahead and just shoot to that. All right, we are back in the system. All right, so let's go ahead and run another command here. What we're going to be doing is we're actually going to be querying the dmessage, which is going to give us information about the system. This particular thing, we want to look for something specific. And essentially what dmessage does as an application is it queries the kernel ring buffer and all the updates that are happening since the system was started. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and look for the update here to make sure that it did indeed go through for IOMMU. All right, what we're going to do here is we're going to run this command. Oops, I'm sorry, not grep head. And then 3, we're going to run dmessage to query the ring buffer. We're going to use grep. We're going to pipe that to grep with the capital E option. We're going to go ahead and type in here in parentheses dmar pipe IOMMU, and then we're going to go ahead and pipe again, and then we're going to go ahead. This is actually not a pipe. This is just what we're putting here in the brackets. And then we're going to put that into head and look at the top 3. Now keep in mind that depending on your system, this could be a different number. I just know that it's the 3rd line down when I run this command. So you may need to play around with it, or you could just do without that. So let's go ahead and do that. And then here we go. We can confirm that IOMMU is definitely enabled. So let's go ahead and get the VFIO enabled. So we're going to need to get some information. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and run the lspci command, which is going to allow us to query information about the PCI devices. We're going to use options NNK, and we're going to pipe that into grep, type option lowercase I to ignore case, and then we're going to go ahead and put in the manufacturer of our GPU. Mine is AMD, so that's what I'm going to use. If you're using Intel, put Intel. If you're using NVIDIA, put NVIDIA. And what we're looking to get here is we're looking to get 2 pieces of information. We want to get these system identification numbers here, and then what we also want to get is we want to get the device identification numbers here, which is this right here. With these 8-digit numbers here, this will be the manufacturer, the first 4, and the second 4 will be the actual individual device identifier. So we're going to need these 2 to be able to go ahead and make sure that we're passing through the correct devices. Now, to go ahead and do that is we're actually going to have to go ahead and create a file. A file that we're going to be creating is we're going to be using nano. In my case, you can use whatever text editor you want. It's going to be etsy modprobe.d /vfio.conf. So go ahead and do that, and then we're going to go ahead and put a single line of text in that file. And in the file, what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and put options, and we're going to do VFIO TAC PCI IDS equals, and then we're going to put those 2 numbers. Now, something I probably should have explained just a pinch better is when we're looking at these numbers, there's 2 components to the graphics card. There's going to be the graphics component, which is this one right here, and the audio component. You're going to want to go ahead and pass those through for the best experience with that graphics card. So let's go ahead and go back in there. So just make sure that you have both this ID and this ID here, and that's what we indeed put in mine. So we've got the graphics component here, and we've got the audio component here. So that's options VFIO TAC PCI IDS equals the first number, comma, the second number. All right, and then what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and save that. I've already created it, so I don't need to create it again, so I just X'd out of it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and update the init ramfs with the update tac init ramfs tac u. And this might take just a second because it needs to get all of that updated here. Now, one of the things that I do want to share is on the Red Hat based systems we were able to go ahead and query dmessage to confirm that VFIO was enabled. It's not going to do that here on the system. So we're going to go ahead and still reboot, and then we're going to go ahead and confirm. All right, and we are back in the Ubuntu-based system here. So let's go ahead and let me just go and show you that the VM is running. We're going to do a versh list. And we can see here that this VM called Rocky is running. There's another method for doing this, for confirming that the GPU has been passed through to the VM. Check out the previous video for more information on that. I'm going to show you just from the VM itself, which is this one right here. Sorry about the small text. I'm using VNC Viewer, so let's go ahead and just say host name. All right, and so yeah, just localhost.localhost. All right, and IP address. You can see here it's a 122.20 address. So this 122 is usually like a default network for KVM. So what we can do here is we're going to basically run the same command that we ran earlier, lspci, and then we're going to go ahead and do tac nn grep I, and we're going to put AMD. And look right here. If you look at these numbers, there and there, those are going to be the exact numbers that we looked at previously. Wicked cool. So now you are ready to pass through a GPU. Make sure to check out the other videos in my Linux virtualization playlist. Remember, mistakes make you better, so keep on making them. Thank you so much for watching my video, and have the greatest of days.